Ferrari have had their fair share of bad luck this season with 6 retirements between their 2 cars in the opening 11 races. Team boss Mattia Binotto has admitted they have caused their own problems this season though. They might have taken the win in Austria, but there is more bad news coming for the Scudderia. Want to know where Ferrari has gone wrong this season and what it means for their future? Then stick around for the video. The Austrian Grand Prix was the first time Ferrari have shown that they can properly contend with Red Bull over the course of a full race. Max Verstappen really struggled to hold off the cars of Carlos Sainz and Charles Leclerc. Ferrari were able to preserve their tyres, and a first stint that was twice as long as Verstappen's meant that the Scudderia had a tyre advantage for the whole race. It was hard to tell how much of this was down to Ferrari being faster thanks to their upgrades though. The Red Bull Ring is a track that is very front-end favoured. The rear tyres tend to take a lot more of the forces produced by the car than the front tyres. Red Bull brought upgrades to the track which seems to favour Verstappen's driving style as well, which also puts the rear tyres under a lot of strain. The combination of these 2 factors meant that Verstappen ruined his rear tyres much quicker than he and his team expected, and Ferrari were able to use this to their advantage. This was until they were abruptly reminded of their Achilles heel this season: engine problems. Carlos Sainz's Ferrari setting on fire on track was painful to watch, and his exclamations of anger and frustration over the team radio as he lost drive were the sounds of a man running out of patience. Only Zhou Guanyu, with 4 retirements, has failed to finish as many races as Sainz this season. It isn't a coincidence that it's 2 Ferrari-powered cars with the most DNFs this season either. Back at the start of June, the Ferrari customers were voicing their concerns over the Ferrari's engine's habit of breaking down. Haas team boss Gunther Steiner has admitted his reliability concerns got a little bigger after the Ferrari failure that cost Kevin Magnussen an MG UK in Monaco. Magnussen was on course to score points at the previous race but retired with a power unit problem. It was the second MG UK failure Haas suffered in Monaco, as one caused the gearbox to overload in opening practice on Mick Schumacher's car. He needed a new gearbox and MG UK to complete the weekend. Charles Leclerc retired from the lead in the Spanish Grand Prix while Alfa Romeo had its own MG UK failure in Friday practice in Monaco. When asked if that run of issues left him worried about Ferrari's reliability, Steiner said, "Would you believe me if I said, no, I have no concerns at all? You shouldn't believe it, after what you just mentioned happened. There are concerns, they're always there, but after Monte Carlo they are a little bit bigger." The Haas boss has probably had a few sleepless nights since then, worrying about whether his cars are going to finish the coming races or not. His drivers seem to share his concerns as well. Kevin Magnussen admitted he was praying to God that his car would not blow up after picking up an issue at the Austrian Grand Prix. The Dane revealed he suffered an engine issue in the opening stages of the Grand Prix, which left him nervous. Magnussen explained, "I had an engine issue, a slight issue that didn't make me feel too good because I was very nervous that it would blow up. It's not the first time this year, but there was a good pace in the car, and even with that slight misfire every time I went on the throttle, it was still fast and I was able to still score points." Driving past the flaming shell of Carlos Sainz's car late in the race won't have helped settle his nerves either. It's a sign of just how bad the engine has been this season that the drivers are expecting every issue to turn into a retirement. The disappointing thing for Ferrari and their customers Haas and Alfa Romeo is that they've brought these problems upon themselves. With the engines being homologated until the 2026 season, Ferrari decided to prioritise power over reliability when designing their engine for this season. The only engine upgrades allowed once the engines are completely homologated will be reliability ones. "We pushed hard on performance knowing that the power units would be frozen until 2026. I am confident also thinking about the next season," said Mattia Binotto. Ferrari have absolutely nailed the performance part and have the fastest engine on the grid, but what use is it if they can't finish races? Valtteri Bottas, who had the pleasure of driving cars powered by the incredible Mercedes turbo hybrid engine, thinks the Ferrari engine is even better than the Mercedes engine that dominated the sport for 8 years. "Engine power, no big difference honestly, so that means they made progress from last year," he said in reference to the Ferrari engine in comparison to the Mercedes engine of 2021. "But the drivability to me, that's the biggest difference. That's the strength of Ferrari's engine, the drivability. From corner exits, it feels like it gives more options of what gears to use and so on. So drivability, I would say, is the big plus on the Ferrari engine." He might have loved the Ferrari engine then, but we're sure he would want to change his statement after starting the Austrian Grand Prix from the pit lane. How big a problem is reliability becoming for Ferrari though? Well, it is a huge problem, but let me give you some actual substance to that statement. Of the 4 cars to have taken grid penalties for using too many engine parts this season, Ferrari cars have been 2 of them. Every single Ferrari-powered car will take grid penalties for the rest of the season if they need to use a new internal combustion engine, turbo, MGU-H or MGU-K. It gets worse though. I would bet my house on Carlos Sainz taking a huge grid penalty at the next Grand Prix in France after his retirement in Austria. If they continue at the rate they have been, there's a good chance they will lose second place in the Constructors' Championship to Mercedes just due to retirements. The French Grand Prix is the 12th race of the season. Assuming Carlos Sainz does have to take new engine parts and taking into account how many engine problems Ferrari have had recently, the drivers could be realistically looking at 4 lots of grid penalties each. If those grid penalties follow races where a car has had to retire due to the engine breaking as well, there might only be 2 or 3 races where both Ferraris get to qualify at the front of the grid and finish the race. That isn't just bad news, that's a disaster. It isn't all bad news for Ferrari though, there is a silver lining to this. Mattia Binotto has confirmed that his team is working on identifying and fixing the issue in the medium term. Medium term likely means the second half of the season after the summer break. Until then though, Ferrari are going to have to play a damage limitation game. These are problems that are worrying for the next races, not in the medium term, because I am convinced that as a team we will be able to solve them. We have a very performing engine and this gives me hope for the future when we have found a way to make it solid as well. Resolutions of this type need time. It is necessary to design new components, produce them, homologate them for reliability. A few weeks are not enough. In the short term, we'll try to manage it in terms of mileage. They're aiming to upgrade the hybrid element of the engine in either Spa or Monza, which will hopefully fix the reliability problems. While much of the engine has been frozen until 2026 already, there is a second deadline of 1st of September 2022 for a specification upgrade to the control electronics, the energy store, the battery, and the MGU-K. The regulations do leave space for engine manufacturers to make changes that improve reliability. The rules state that a manufacturer may apply to the FIA during the course of the homologation period to conduct modifications to the homologated power unit elements for the sole purpose of reliability, safety, cost saving, or minimal incremental changes permitted in Article 5.4. If the Ferrari engine continues proving as problematic as it has, and they can't resolve it through the normal channels, the rules do allow more drastic changes to be made, but there are a lot of hoops that Ferrari would have to jump through. As part of the process, the 3 other manufacturers will be told about any request and allowed to offer an opinion. That transparency makes it less likely that anyone will use a reliability fix to improve performance. The rules note that applications must be made in writing to the FIA technical department and must provide all necessary supporting information, including, where appropriate, clear evidence of failures. The FIA will circulate the correspondence to all power unit manufacturers for comment. If the FIA is satisfied, in absolute discretion, that these changes are acceptable, they will confirm to the power unit manufacturer concerned that they may be carried out. If Ferrari can't solve the problem with the simple changes that the FIA can approve themselves, then they could be in big trouble until the new engine regulations come into effect in 2026. Can you really imagine Christian Horner or Toto Wolff being happy about Ferrari making engine updates when Mattia Binotto has admitted his team weren't worried about reliability when designing the engine? We're sure he never thought it would be this bad though. If, and it is a big if, Ferrari can get on top of their reliability issues, they have the engine required to win a world championship. All they need to do now is finish some races. Want to know more about the technical side of Formula 1? Then check out the video showing on your screen now.